develops more desires. So, that's where Sankhya Yoga comes. Before you start the action, understand the futility of that action and then do. That's the knowledge of action. That's why the primary thing is knowledge. He spoke very many things he spoke, right up to the Sthita Prajna he spoke. The why of action and the how of action. There are two things. Action has two. One is, why are you doing it? Then comes how. How implies the technique. How implies the technique. Why indicates the purpose. Why indicates the purpose. How implies the technique. In Sankhya Yoga, he says, do not worry about the technique that much. Be clear about why are you doing it. For if you are not clear about the purpose, the very doing itself creates further bondage. As it is, the human being is in bondage. Not knowing why he continues to act, it creates more bondage. So the primary source of action is removal of bondage. If primary source of action is removal of bondage means, before you start any action, you are supposed to understand the futility of that action. Or if at all there is any purpose, the only purpose is, if at all there is any purpose, the only purpose is how not to create further vasanas, how not to create further action. Only this is the Sankhya Yoga in a nutshell. And this Sankhya Yoga is too much to understand, too much to receive. It's not the difficulty in understanding. It is the difficulty in accepting it as the fact. Because the moment we understand the futility of doing, the sincerity goes out. The intensity of the doing goes out the moment I understand it as futile. So he says, okay, since the Sankhya part of knowledge is very difficult, at least start with the right action. At least start with right action. That is karma. That is Karma Yoga. That's the sequence. The moment you understand the futility, understanding the futility doesn't inspire you to do it. Understanding the futility makes you stop the action. That's why he says you understand the futility of it, it will become a play. You will do it, but the attitude of it will be a play, a leela. All this is Sankhya Yoga. Very difficult for Arjuna, like most of us, to connect with Sankhya Yoga, because we still have a value for doing something, and we still have a value for achieving something out of that doing. Again I repeat, Sankhya Yoga is out now. Because the moment you understand the futility, why? Now why do it? The inspiration goes out. It means you are not yet matured for Sankhya Yoga. Therefore, he shifts the here from Sankhya Yoga to Karma Yoga, to into action. Now we are discussing not about Sankhya, but about action, the doing. The doing is always with a value for doing something, or the result that it is going to come out of it. It's always two. Again, I have a tremendous value for doing this, and I do. Or I will be so interested in the result that it is going to come out of this doing, even though I don't like this doing, even though I don't prefer this doing, I continue to do. Why? Because if I don't do this, I will not get whatever I want. Whatever I want. Maybe gross, maybe subtle, maybe tangible, maybe intangible. But nevertheless, the doing is not very interesting, but the result that I am going to get somehow drives me into the doing. So first thing in action, he says, is these are the wrong attitudes that drive action. So 43 verses, Karma Yoga. He explained how to remove these two. When you have removed these two from action, what happens? A kind of jnanam comes in. Jnana, karma, sannyasa yoga. A kind of knowledge comes into the doing. From ordinary actions, from ordinary selfish actions to slightly better unselfish actions, because of jnanam, you are able to do yajna karma. That's why whole of chapter 4 is about yajna karma. That yajna karma, if you attempt, leads to karma sannyasa, which is chapter 5. And the karma sannyasa, while doing, that attitude of sannyas, while doing karma, leads a person to meditation, self-realization. This is the sequence of 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we are in chapter 4. Chapter 4. Jnana, Karma, Sannyasa, Yoga. 42 verses. A jnanam that leads to sannyasa. Sannyasa means renunciation. So, the yoga of renunciation of action in wisdom. Jnana, Karma, Sannyasa, Yoga. Chapter 5 is Karma Sannyasa. By following the right type of action, அது அப்படியே விட்டுருங்க. அது எப்ப வேணா காய்ந்து விழுந்துரும் போல இருக்கு அந்த டோர். அப்புறம் நம்மதான் உடச்சு போட்டோம்னு சொல்லிட்டு போறாங்க. சொல்லியாச்சு இல்ல பாட்டேன் அப்படின்னு அவ்வளவுதான் விட்டுருங்க. சொல்லியாச்சுன்னா இட்ஸ் ஓகே. அப்புறம் அடுத்த வாரம் ஜெயந்தி இது கட்ட வரும்போது இதுக்கும் சேர்த்து ஃபீஸ் கட்டுமோன்னா அவ்வளவுதான். ஞான கர்ம சன்னியாச பத்தி பேசணும்னா கதவெல்லாம் பத்தி கவலைப்படுது. worried about the door also. ஞான கர்ம சன்னியாச யோகா. சரியா கணேஷ்? Because he came and told me, ஒழுங்கா இன்ட்ரோடக்ஷன் கொடுத்துட்டு அப்புறம் வருஷத்துக்குள்ள போங்க. He said, I said okay. இன்னொரு 3 weeks பாயிண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் இங்க வந்துடும். இதெல்லாம் கரெக்டா பேசுறீங்க அப்படி. ஐ டூ தட் ஆல்சோ. சொல்றேன். அதான் சார் நான் கேளுங்க அவரை. From Karma Yoga, the maturity in chapter 4 is to Yajna Karma. That's why it is called the yoga of renunciation of action in wisdom. In chapter 3, he kind of indicated Yajna Karma. In verses 7, he introduced Karma, and 10 and 11, he quoted Prajapati, and he spoke about Yajna Karma, and he just dropped that idea there. He didn't continue. He didn't continue with that idea. Because Arjuna is not yet matured into listening to Yajna Karma. So he went in to explain about Karma first. First understand Karma, the various components of Karma, then you know how to fit in Yajna Karma. If you don't understand Karma and the various components of Karma, you cannot fit in. You will not know where to fit in Yajna Karma. You will not know how to fit in Yajna Karma. At the most, it will be a good desire-ridden activity. Unselfish activity, a good desire-ridden activity, resulting in lot of punya. Better than creating papa is to create punya. That is chapter 3. He is not ridiculing punya. He is ridiculing punya to one who has accumulated enough punya. Just as the futility of wealth is explained to one who has it. The fellow doesn't have anything. You talk about the futility of wealth. He will say, oh, fantastic, excellent. After the lecture, he will ask, where is the wealth? You follow? Or he may think, oh, this is a very good method to gain wealth. You talk about the futility of punya to one who has accumulated punya and not found any benefit out of it. Just as a person who has accumulated wealth and not found any benefit out of it is the one who can understand the futility of it. A person who has not accumulated or who thinks that there is enough happiness in it, to that person you can never talk about the futility of wealth. You follow what I am saying? Exactly the same thing. Here is a person who has done enough punya and found out that this punya is of no use. It is not taking him anywhere. He matures into doing karma. What kind of karma? Yajna karma. So you find the entire chapter 4 is devoted to Yajna karma. I don't know. Adutha 6 மாசமும் 9 மாசமும் we will be bored listening to this word. Yajna. அடுத்த 6 மாசம் பிரேக்கே எடுத்துக்கலாம்ப்பா. ஒண்ணுமே yajna again and again he will be repeating Yajna karma. The proof that you have done Yajna karma is renunciation increases. The spirit of renunciation increases. That is karma. That is karma sannyasa. Chapter 5. There he gives a wonderful description of a yogi, a jnani, a sannyasi, all that, and then he leads the person to chapter 6, meditation. He talks about the preparatory practices for meditation, the seat, the posture, the environment, how to do meditation, leading to realize. Sequence. The proof of wisdom is the spirit of renunciation. The proof of wisdom is the spirit of renunciation. What is that spirit of renunciation? What is that spirit of renunciation? What is that indication of? What is the indication of renunciation? The indication of renunciation is only one. And the indication of renunciation is only one. Detachment. No agitation. There is only one indication. That vairagya, renunciation, sannyasa, detachment, all that is developing, progressing. What is that? That only indication is concentration. Wherever you are, you will be able to concentrate. If you are not able to concentrate, there is no renunciation. What is the connect? If you are not able to concentrate, means the desire, the vasanas are more powerful than the power of the intellect. That is why it runs all by itself. When it is running all by itself, it is an indication of lack of. It is an indication of the power of desires. It's an indication of the power of desires. Joy, bliss, lack of agitation. That's why all these are academic answers. 100 on, you give us 100, A minus. A minus will be given. But still, what is it? What is it? Concentration. What is the proof of concentration? What is the concentration? What is the proof of concentration? The proof of concentration is relaxation. Concentration is very relaxing. Today concentration is very tensed. You say yourself that you have to concentrate, it's tensed. Concentration is that which? That's why a sannyasi who can concentrate is a very relaxed person. Since he is so relaxed, there is no agitation in him. That's how you can understand the progress in renunciation. Observe. If you are forced to concentrate, if you are forced into concentration, you will fall off to sleep very soon. As in meditation. You fall off to sleep. Observe that wherever you concentrate, after a while, there is a tendency to slip into sleep. It means what? It means what? The mind is saying, if you continue to concentrate, I will switch off. That's what sleep is, nothing but mind is switching off. That's all. Mind switches off and says, I will fall off to sleep. Forcefully you can abstain yourself from sleeping. You will go back with the severe headache. Migraine la onnume illa. Migraine seems to be a normal headache compared to that headache. You follow what I am saying? The proof of wisdom increasing, the proof of renunciation is increasing, is your ability to concentrate. Deliberately I paused for 15 seconds, sir. I didn't forget. In that 15 seconds, first to 2 seconds, you will be thinking, seri edo deepa solla porar pola irukku. Continue to pause, you will think, seri sequencer marandatar. He is trying to recollect. 7th second, it goes, I don't know, wherever it goes. When the mind travels all by itself, it travels to where the mind keeps going constantly to the area of likes and dislikes. If it goes all by itself, it is driven by its vasana. It can go all by itself towards God also, but still it is part of vasana, likes and dislikes. The consequence of that is the same. The opposite of that is there is a deliberate focus. You choose to focus. And when you choose to focus, the mind stays there. It means you have renunciation. It means you are practicing sannyas, vairagya, renunciation. You choose to focus and the mind says, who are you to decide? I will go all by myself. You don't tell me what I should do, or you keep saying what I should do. I will continue to do what I have been doing. It means that person lacks sannyas. Why? He has not done yajna. He has not done yajna karma. Punya activities he is doing. That's why there is a kind of joyful living, there is a kind of blissful living. Things are more or less stable around. Even when things go wrong, it doesn't affect you that. Even when things go wrong here and there, it doesn't affect you that bad. Not because you are developing vairagya, not because you are developing renunciation. Your punya is kind of protecting you. Your punya is kind of protecting you. In that punya, what happens? In that punya, the tendency is to slip into relaxation. The tendency is to slip into tamas. So very soon the punya gets exhausted and back to square one. That's why in this chapter he is going to say, take the straight path and come to me. Why are you getting stuck in this? Later on he is going to say all this. Take the direct path. Take the direct path and come to me directly. So, lack of agitation can also be because of punya. So, how do you distinguish that you are doing karma yoga in the true sense and maturing into yajna karma, and the proof of yajna karma is something internal. You need to have an internal proof. And what is that internal proof that you are doing yajna karma? Your ability to concentrate. Your ability to concentrate. As far as the mind is concerned, as far as the senses are concerned, you dictate to the senses and the senses obey. You follow? As far as the mind is concerned, it is concentration. And as far as the senses are concerned, you dictate to the senses and the senses obey. The senses, the stomach get hungry. Don't try all this, sir. யாராவது பிராக்டிஸ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா அது உங்களோட ரிஸ்க் இல்ல. டிஸ்க்ளைமர்ஸ். I am not suggesting anything. I am not recommending anything. ஏதாவது ப்ராப்ளம் ஆச்சுன்னா இது அது போட்டுருங்க. நல்லா கிளாஸ்லயே கூட போட்டு விட்டுருங்க. கிளாஸ் குரூப்லயே போட்டு விட்டுருங்க. டிஸ்க்ளைமர் சேஃப். என்னத்துக்கு வம்பு? The natural state of the stomach is to get hungry, and it demands food. No, we are not discussing what type of food. இதெல்லாம் புரியல அப்படின்னாக்கா 17 சாப்டர்ல மெனு மாதிரி கிட்டாஸ். It was too much. அங்க போயிட்டோம்னா we will discuss that also. யஜ்ஞ கர்ம புரியல, பக்தி யோகா புரியல, ஒன்னும் புரியலன்னா what to do? He gave like a menu card. Sattvic food, rajasic food, tamasic food, sattvic danam, rajasic danam, yajna danam. அதுக்கு மேல he couldn't go down. Now forget about that. What at this chapter he is discussing is, at the level of mind it is concentration. There you have developed the sannyas, or you are progressing in sannyas. Where you tell the mind to stay focused, it stays focused. That is the indicator as far as the mind is concerned. What is the indicator as far as the senses are concerned? The natural tendencies of the senses are brought under control. What are the natural tendencies of the senses? The stomach is to get hungry and demand food. They say, practice fasting. So now there is a fasting. 16-hour fasting to lose weight. They also said fast. The purpose is not to lose weight. The purpose is you know how much you are a victim of the senses. Then only you will know how much you are a victim. Otherwise, you tend to believe that the senses are under control already. So I don't need sense control. I need only vasanas reduction, self-realization. Avladhan. The rest of the things are all under control. From this class only, one lady said, "Sir, மிச்சதெல்லாம் வேண்டாம், எதுவுமே பேசாது. Want only self-realization." I said that அப்படின்னு நீங்களும் இங்க உட்கார்ந்து பேசணும். Self-realization is a cup of coffee in Sarvana Bhavan. What is it? Vairagya has to develop. How do you know that Vairagya is developing? The senses are under control. What are the natural instincts of the senses? Hunger, thirst, sleep. Hunger, thirst, sleep. There is the fourth one which we can't discuss. Not that we can't discuss. We are not that open to discuss it. Another fourth one I am not discussing. The urge to procreate. These are the natural tendencies of the senses. What is Vairagya as far as the senses are concerned? All these four are controlled. That's why to control the fourth, They said practice brahmacharya, abstain. In order to, for hunger, they said practice fasting. For thirst, don't. If you are thirsty, it's okay. Be remain thirsty for a while. Nothing. Other thing is have a bottle of water and keep sipping. Why? Because dehydration will happen, headache will happen. I will die. So why I want to be alive? Because I want self-realization. Indulgence is justified for. Okay, we can fool ourselves, but these masters can't be fooled. So they give you follow what I am saying? So what they did at the level of the senses, fasting, no water. If at all you want to drink water, you have to drink it as a prasad. That is why even today in temple when you go, they give water not in liters. They give water in drop. Even when we do the prayers, Allah, the first thing is you sip a drop of water, no? In the Rachamana practice, you don't drink water. How do you do? You just take one spoon, one drop. Yeah. One drop you have to put. Yeah. Current mari udar ni vaangi vachinda, that is not that. One drop should come. Avladhan. One drop. Even before you have realized whether there is water or not, it is controlled. The third is sleep. You tell yourself that I will not. That natural tendency is to fall up to me. I will not sleep. The fourth. And then the fifth, the most difficult. The fifth, the most difficult. Ganesh, what is the most difficult fifth one? Maunam. To practice, important. You can go without food, you can go without water, but you cannot go without talking. That one day, Jayanti can meet a group of people and stay quiet for half an hour. Oh my God. Not all by herself at home. Anga yarume illanada inga vandu pudichikra. Sannyasa has developed nartham. Why? Because the urge to it's not the urge to talk, it is the urge to express. It's urge to express. Sannyasa is curbing these instincts for expression at the level of senses and the level of the mind. These two are the indicators of renunciation. You are progressively increasing in renunciation. Okay. How to achieve that progress? The principle that he gives in this, what he touched upon in chapter 3 and what he is going to elaborate in chapter 4 is what is known as yajna karma. Yajna karma. The eyes are in constant need of taking in. The eyes are in constant need of taking it. That's why the eyes goes all over the place. Plain wall you keep, there is nothing for the eyes to take. That's why we say, why hang so many things? The wall, keep a plain wall. The eyes, there is nothing for the eyes to take. So you have to put something so that the eyes are kept engaged. The ears are kept engaged. All these are the indicators of desires in such a magnitude where you are not able to let go of anything. What is assumed in this chapter is you have practiced the karma yoga to some extent and those things are under control and you are ready for the next level. What is the next level? Yajna karma. The karma has to be sandwiched between jnanam and sannyas. The word karma is prefixed with jnanam and suffixed with sannyas. So karma has to be sandwiched between jnanam and sannyas. Starting point of it is jnanam, the end point of it is sannyas. In between stays karma. This is chapter 4. Jnana karma sannyasa yoga. 42 verses divided into 6 topics. Seriya? 42 verses divided into 6 topics. Topic 1. Self is eternal teacher. Topic 2. How self relates to action. 3. Actions of enlightened, not binding. 19 to 24. So the first 24 verses is all about self is the eternal teacher, how self relates to action, the actions of enlightened, not binding. The first 24 verses is talking about the highest. Wonderful chapter. That is the jnanam part of it. It's talking about the highest. Then comes chapter 4, topic 4, the 12 yajnas. 12 types of sacrifices. All yajnas culminate in wisdom. All yajnas culminate in wisdom. Topic 6, Krishna's advice to gain wisdom. Beautiful method is there. Such a simple method is there. Why not use it? Why not follow it and gain wisdom? This is topic 6. Krishna's advice to gain wisdom. Now we start with verse number 1. Verse number 1, please.
Shri Bhagavad Gita Imperishable yoga Doktavanakamadhyayam Vivasvan manase praha Madhurikshvakave bravi Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Doktavanakamadhyayam Vivasvan manase praha Madhurikshvakave bravi.
The blessed Lord said, I declared this imperishable yoga to Vivaswan. Vivaswan taught it to Manu. Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. Some chapters start with Arjuna asking a question. Some chapters start with Krishna himself starting. Here he himself starts. What all I told you till now, Arjuna, I declared this to Vivaswan. Vivaswan taught it to Manu. Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. The parampara. He is talking about the Guru Shishya, the lineage. The Guru Shishya parampara. Vivaswan is sun god. The Vedic name for the Puranic name for sun god is Surya. The Puranic name for sun god is Surya. The Vedic name for sun god is Vivaswan. Since he follows that Vedic Vedantic tradition, he uses those names. He doesn't use any of the Puranic names. I gave this knowledge to Vivaswan, sun god. Sun god gave it to his son, Manu. Manu, the son of sun god, the ancient lawgiver. Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku, the first king of the solar dynasty, Surya Vamsha. The Pandavas, the Kauravas, all of them belong to Puranic story தெரிஞ்சிருக்கணும் அட்லீஸ்ட் இல்லையா? பிலாசபி தான் தெரியலன்னா புராணிக் ஸ்டோரியாவது இட் இஸ் ஓகே. அதுவும் தெரியலன்னா they belong to Chandra Vamsha, lunar dynasty, inferior dynasty. The solar dynasty, who all belongs to the solar dynasty? Ikshvaku. Then came Harishchandra. What a great lineage. Then came Harishchandra, the man who stood for that one aphorism, Satyameva. That man who stood for that aphorism and said, this is how I am going to live. A beautiful dynasty. I am not going into that dynasty. அப்புறம் அது வந்து ராமாயண கதை விட பெருசாயிடும். We start that story. That entire dynasty. Ikshvaku. Then came Raghu. That's why he is called Raghu Vamsha. Another great king called Raghu. And Rama says, I belong to Raghu Vamsha. Raghu means some great. Now why he is great, Allah எனக்கு தெரியாது. Story. He says, this is a Raghu Vamsha. All that he is saying is, from the beginning I am giving this knowledge. From the beginning I am giving this knowledge. Meaning, from the beginning of creation, this knowledge is available. From the beginning of creation, this knowledge is available. And it was handed over in succession. The Guru Shishya. It was handed over in succession. Why he is giving these names is because, see, nowadays these names have no Ikshvaku, Raghu, Harishchandra, all these names has no meaning. Bill Gates, Mukesh Ambani, அவங்கெல்லாம் வருவாங்களா அப்படின்னா it is, I am not saying it is a deterioration or anything. Every generation have somebody who they who they look up to. What you look up to shows where your value lies. Because you look up to because that is what you look up to is because that is what is inspiring you. You have a value for that. You follow? Oh. Superstar ondara. Intellect has plummeted is not the interesting point there. A superstar coming there is முன்னாடியே சொல்லிருந்தீங்கன்னா நாங்க வந்து எட்டி பார்த்திருப்போம்ல. அதுக்குதான் சொல்லவே இல்லை. அப்போ அது ஏற்கனவே there is no thing to listen. இதுல எல்லாரும் சூப்பர் ஸ்டாரை பார்க்க வந்து என்ன வரும்? சொல்லும். What you look up to shows what you value. Now the names that Krishna gives are the names that those generation looked up to. Who are they? The great sannyasis, the great men of renunciation. Manu, the lawgiver. Manusmriti we say, no? The ancient lawgiver. What amount of penetrating capacity you need to consider all aspects of life and derive principles for it. They looked up to it. You follow? And all this is done by even the constitution. There was a group of people sat and worked on the constitution, and it goes on. Because always a group of people is working on it. Imagine one man sitting and creating the entire constitution. Not just civil, criminal, education, economics. What amount of knowledge that man must be having, what amount of penetrating capacity he should be having. Okay, only the social laws are, no. The individual laws. At each and every ashrama, the rule for each and every ashrama, the rule for each and every role that you play. Manusmriti is extraordinary textbook. Adukosara don't ask where do we get. Sir, on the Manusmriti book, enga sir kadaikunna, don't ask. You can buy that book. It's there available. But head or tail you will not. See, he talked about the social laws. He talked about as an individual, you play various roles, no? Each and every role has an obligation. He codified that also. Extraordinary man. Manu. The 4 ashramas, the 4 varnas, and then the individual. It's like a huge, extraordinary, penetrating capacity that man had. Those generation respected. So he says, glorifies the name. By glorifying this name, the knowledge that he imparts gets glorified. That's why I gave this example. RK sir coming and sitting in the class. No inspiration. Yeah. No inspiration. Value of the knowledge is magnified. The value of this knowledge is amplified when somebody whom you look up to comes and sits. You follow? It's a very poor way of learning. It's a very poor way of knowing, but this is what happens actually. You follow? the value of this knowledge, he is amplifying it. He is making it known by quoting these names. Who are they? Ikshvaku, Manu, Vivaswan. Ulta direction lo porana. Vivaswan, Manu, Ikshvaku, and so on and so forth. It means unbroken lineage. Was handed over in succession by the preceptor's disciple. The Guru Shishya Parampara. An extraordinary value is placed on this Guru Shishya Parampara. Why? Because it is that Guru Shishya Parampara lineage that has kept this knowledge alive. And you need to understand the intensity, the power of the intellects, the strength of those intellects that kept this knowledge alive. Understand it like this. It becomes easy. You know, the most difficult thing is to communicate. You say one thing and the other person receives it as something else, and when he goes and repeats it, completely changed. You say something, I receive it differently, and then I go out and tell this to somebody else. Every link the knowledge gets distorted. Correct. Distorted. Don't say diluted. Gets distorted. By the time it goes to the 10th link, what the first fellow said and what the 10th fellow is saying has no relevance at all. Why? It is very difficult for you to say that which ought to be said without mixing yours in it. Extraordinary intellect is required for that. Extraordinary devotion to knowledge is required for that. Two things. Extraordinary devotion is required to do that. The strength of the intellect has to be so powerful. That's why in those days they never asked for copyrights. Today it has to be done because what I learned from him and what I am sitting and talking here may be completely unconnected to what he wants to say. You follow? That's why anybody that I meet in person, I keep selling this e-learning. Nothing title and the Konar notes title waste money. Might as well go to that directly. You follow? Why? Because communication is very difficult without bringing in your words, your interpretation. The Guru Shishya Parampara is so extraordinary because you need extraordinary honesty is required, extraordinary intensity is required, humility is required to keep to this parampara. You say one thing in the morning, by the evening it is changed, distorted. The Keno Upanishad is still the same. How it was taught 10,000 years back is still the same. You will be so inspired by this tradition if you understand how difficult it is to do that. Or every generation will feel, oh, this word is unnecessary. The story is not apt to the modern times. Everybody starts editing, cutting, adding something. What you will end up having? What you will end up having? You will not have Ken Upanishad. You will be having something else. Bhagavad Gita, as he spoke in the Kurukshetra field, we still have it. So all the great masters who have commented on this, they don't touch the original. They will not add one word to the original. They will not delete one word from the original. That is this glory of Guru Shishya Parampara. Lots of devotion is required for that. Yeah. Today, you give it to anybody, the first tendency is to correct it. அவர் சொல்லிட்டாரு, ஆனா அதெல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் வேர்ட்ஸ் மாத்தினா இன்னும் தெளிவா புரியுமா? You don't do that. Or a disciple will not do that. A disciple will not do that. That is why he says, this is what I have heard from my master, and it is repeated the same. And those are the days where they had lot of value for this tradition. Lot of value for this Guru Shishya Parampara. Unbroken lineage, not contaminating, not touching the original. Since the devotion was extremely high, they never bothered about taking any copyrights. Because they know that it's not going to happen. Today, first thing you have to do is, he said this long back. You know why? Because of you fellows I have to do it, he said, long back. In one of the conversation, Swamiji said, because of you fellows only I have to do this copyright. Otherwise, there is no need. At least when I went back, I felt very insulted. What a pathetic quality of a student. Why? Because that much honesty, integrity is not there to do what? To repeat it. To repeat it. You don't touch it. Since there was generations after generations doing that, Arjuna had a tremendous value for that. Arjuna had a tremendous respect for that. That's why we do Guru Purnima, no? Just a reminder, what? Not to go and prostrate to him and contaminate Just to say, the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, this is what I learned from my master. The Upanishadic master says, this is what I learned from my master. And who's the first master? Who's the first teacher? Self is the first teacher. So down the line, nobody arrogates anything to themselves. Self is the eternal teacher. That's the topic. Are you able to follow now? Go back. Who's the first teacher? Self is the first teacher. That's why every tradition has their own guru-parampara list, and the God always comes. Dakshinamurti comes first. Murti means form. Murti means form. Murti na form. Dakshina means east, west, north, south. Dakshina means south. So Dakshinamurti means south, the form sitting facing south. Avladam. Why south? Why south? Conversation there, nothing there in that south. Why south? Why not any direction? Why south? தைரியமா சொல்லுங்க. Why south? For south is the direction of South is the direction of who? Yama. South is the direction of Yama. He is saying, sitting, looking at the direction means welcoming Yama. When will you look at the direction? Only when somebody is coming in that direction and you want to welcome, no? When you are looking at the direction, it means what? Expecting something. Welcoming. Expecting. And Dakshinamurti is wonderful because that's why he is eternal. Why? Because they are all ephemeral. Dakshinamurti is eternal. Why? Because he is welcoming him. When you run away from him, only he can come to you. When you welcome him, he cannot touch you. Original Guru, Dakshinamurti. From him, the traditional. Here he says, I gave this knowledge to Vivaswan, sun god. That's why Gayatri is chanted. Because he is the first one to receive the knowledge, and because of him got the knowledge first, he is extraordinary. Diyonav prachodayat. The Gayatri mantra is a prayer uttered to sun god, because he is the first one to receive this knowledge. And because he received this knowledge first, his rays are so powerful. His rays are so penetrating. Not an area of darkness is there, sir. Sun God, no? Sun God doesn't know. Sun God doesn't know darkness. It means he doesn't know what? Darkness is equated to ignorance. He doesn't know what ignorance is. That's why we pray to, just as you don't know what ignorance is, one day I should also not know what ignorance is. Ignorance but that is different. Yeah, that's a different state altogether. Nalu category vetla. It is not my category. He said it long back. Tani thesis the Ningala, he said. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Vedanta Academy student, he says. My Tani's thesis. Sattva is correct, no? He says that, no? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and then the fourth is species. அது வேதாந்த ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்னே வச்சுக்கலாம். இன்னத்துக்கு அவங்க மட்டும் தவிர இங்க இருக்கிற எல்லாருமே we can add into this new species. Because we also don't know what ignorance is. Sun God also doesn't know what ignorance is. Vivaswan gave it to Manu. Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. The remembrance of the Guru Shishya Parampara. See, when you talk about Jnanam, when you talk about knowledge, the highest knowledge, first thing you need to be aware of is the Guru Shishya Parampara. It's not just a Parampara, not the emotional attachment. It's not just an emotional attachment. You need to understand the amount of sacrifices every generation did to keep this knowledge alive. It is gratitude to that. Not an emotional Not an emotional attachment. If it is just an emotional attachment, it's not worth it anyway. A recognition of the sacrifices they made. Giant intellects. The best of humanity is what? The best of humanity is what? Lineage. I am the first in that lineage, he said. I gave this knowledge. I am the first in that lineage. Approach what Arjuna should have done. Approach what Arjuna should have done. He should have prostrated and started the fight. No. He is saying, in that lineage, I am the first. And I am standing in front of you, talking to you. Arjuna is blind. He is not able to see that. Just as we are not able to see that. How do we know that we are not able to see that? We still have our doubts. We still have our indecisions. We are still debating whether to. We are still testing the waters. Whether to take the plunge. God will rule over it. Nobody is still debating whether to take the plunge or not. I gave this knowledge to Vivaswan to Manu, and Manu to Ikshvaku. And this knowledge, Arjuna, is imperishable. You all perish. That's why this Vedanta is called Sanatana. Why it is called Sanatana? Because it is avyayam. It is imperishable. While everything in this world perishes, including the world. Everything in this world perishes. The world itself is perishable. Everything is perishable. Everything perishes. In this, everything that is perishable around you, one thing that is imperishable is this knowledge. I declared this imperishable yoga. He just introduces the word yoga. Yoga, we have heard any number of times, derives from the root yuj, means to join. This method of joining has been there from the time immemorial. And what is the quality of this knowledge? The quality of this knowledge is, it is avyayam, imperishable. The quality of this knowledge itself is imperishable, utterly independent of the guru-parampara. Please understand this. This knowledge in itself is imperishable, utterly independent of the guru-shishya. Supposing at some point of time, if this parampara is cut, will this knowledge go away? Knowledge still remains. That's where this guru-shishya parampara says, they have not done anything to keep it alive. It stays by itself. That's the humility. Even though they are the one who's keeping it alive, for all practical purposes, for us, they are the ones who keep it alive. Theoretically speaking, knowledge stays by itself. But that knowledge staying by itself, we don't know how to extract. We do not know the methodology. For we have only the milk. Ghee is there in it. Butter is there in it. But we do not know how to extract it. And these great masters, this lineage, he is helping us to. In that sense, it is imperishable. imperishable because it is not dependent on any individual, any lineage. It stays by itself. That is why it is called imperishable, avyayam. Last, why this is called imperishable is because anybody who is a victim of perishable cannot understand this knowledge, cannot talk about this knowledge. Only that one who has reached that state of, only the one who has reached that state can talk about the imperishable. All the others can only repeat. All the others can only repeat. And remember this. Always remember this. By repeating the conclusion of another, you can never know it. Again I repeat, this is ignorance. Repeating the conclusion of another. At least I think to myself always like this. Intellect is what is needed is his conclusion. By me repeating this conclusion, my intellect is not going to get. So you can never become wise by repeating somebody's conclusion. And all the time we do is repeating the conclusion of another, thinking it to be one's own. This is called parroting, not knowledge. Therefore, who can give the true knowledge about the imperishable? One who has reached that state. Others talking is repeating the conclusion of another. You follow? I can talk about detachment and be extremely attached. It means detachment is the conclusion of somebody else's. By repeating the conclusion of another, you don't learn anything. And we are so supremely satisfied in parroting another's conclusion. Adiki avlo very ego. Yeah, repeating another's conclusion again, the ego is so big na. Oh my God. Thank God we don't conclude anything. Or the real conclusion comes only when the ego is completely annihilated. So jnanam, in that sense it is avyayam. In that sense it is imperishable. You follow? Why he calls it as imperishable is because of this. Always ask these two questions. Can you know anything? Is the possibility of knowing will be alive if you have already made up your mind about something? If you have already made up your mind about something, can you ever learn after that? Number one. Number two, can you ever know anything by repeating the conclusion of another? This is what ignorance is. Knowledge says that is his conclusion. What is your conviction? Detachment is his conclusion. My conviction lies in attachment. Now, at least that much I should be aware. You follow? So the Shastras is the conclusion of another. By repeating it I will never reach that imperishable state. It has to be one's own. How to get it one's own? Yajna karma. The 12 yajnas, all that is coming. Jnanam is that which you develop only when it is your conclusion. You can hear for 40 years intellect and still be very confused about at least I will say quite a few times I am still confused as to what is this intellect. உங்களுக்கே கன்ஃபியூஷனா சார்? அப்படின்னா எங்களுக்கெல்லாம் ஜஸ்டிஃபைடு, கரெக்ட் தான். It is the conclusion, the affirmation with which he talks about it is his conclusion. It has not yet become. Don't say yours, sir. Don't say your conclusion. Say, in that sense it is avyayam. Who can talk about it? The one who has is there. So, how do you understand knowledge? Ask these two questions. Can you ever know anything if you have already made up your mind about it? Most of the time you ask questions after you have concluded. Only after attestation. Correct. Attestation. Who said that? It's an attestation. Just attested. Correct. You have already made up you can never know anything if you have already made up your mind about it. How do you know that you have made up your mind about it? You will come and say after you have done it. You should ask when? Before, no. After that, if you come and ask, it means you have already made up your mind. At that point of time, what can be said? Nothing can be done. Second thing about ignorance is this. Can you know anything by repeating the conclusion of another? That's why he says, question what I say. It is my conclusion. It's not your conclusion. For that to turn into your conclusion, question whatever you say. But what you are saying is so correct, sir. What is the need even to question? When the explanations are so convincing, so clear, so obviously, right? There is no need for us to question at all. Abbe straight, abbe ulla poichu. Straight. Repeating the conclusion of another. You can never know. Can you know anything by repeating the conclusion of another? That is perishable. Imperishable is such that the nature of imperishable is such that under all circumstances, under every circumstance, it remains the same. Under all circumstances, the wise man says liberation. It is avyayam, imperishable. This imperishable yoga, this extraordinary lineage kept it alive, still keeps it alive. This extraordinary knowledge, this extraordinary avyayam, imperishable knowledge is kept alive by this lineage. The guru-shishya parampara. சரியா?